The Comedy Review. LA Story. Just the Facts. LA Story is the name of an American comedy film released in U.S. cinemas on the 8th of February 1991. The film was written by comic actor Steve Martin and directed by Mick Jackson, whose diverse filmography also includes the notorious 1984 BBC nuclear war drama Threads, the 1992 romantic thriller The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, and the 1997 disaster movie Volcano. Music for the film was composed by Peter Melnick, who also provided scores to features such as Only You and Gitters and TV series such as Edgar Allan Poe, Terror of the Soul. Plot. A professionally successful but personally dissatisfied LA weatherman finds himself getting advice on his muddled love life from a rather unexpected source, an apparently sentient and benevolent electronic freeway road sign. Cast. The film stars comedy legend Steve Martin in the lead role of weatherman Harris K. Telemacher. Martin rose to fame with his notoriously unpredictable stand-up comedy routines in the 1970s, before hitting the big screen in 1979 with his first film, The Jerk, and becoming one of the primary comic actors of the 1980s in such films as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Three Amigos, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, Roxanne, and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. The film also stars Victoria Tennant as Martin's romantic interest Sarah McDowell, who is otherwise best known for TV miniseries such as The Winds of War and Remembrance. Also appearing in the film is well-known British actor Richard D. Grant, whose other film works include the British romantic comedy Jack and Sarah and the late 80s cult classic comedy horror Warlock. Marilu Henner plays Martin's current disinterested girlfriend Trudy. Henner being best known for her long-running role on the late 70s and early 80s U.S. comedy series Taxi. Sarah Jessica Parker, most famous, or should that be infamous, for her starring role in the late 90s and early 2000s comedy drama series Sex and the City, plays Sandy, a free-spirited younger woman who takes an unexpected shine to Martin, and the film also features Kevin Pollak, a well-known supporting actor in such films as Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days, A Few Good Men and The Usual Suspects. There is also a very funny cameo from none other than Captain Jean-Luc Picard himself, British acting legend Patrick Stewart, as a snotty French maitre d' at a ridiculously exclusive restaurant. Trivia. Woody Harrelson, Martin Lawrence, Paula Abdullah and Martin's fellow 80s comedy legends Chevy Chase and Rick Moranis appear in uncredited cameos. Quantum Leap and Enterprise star Scott Bakula also appeared in the film, as did Monty Python's Terry Jones and the iconic John Lithgow, but their scenes were ultimately left on the cutting room floor. Steve Martin and Victoria Tennant were actually husband and wife in real life at the time the film was made. Reaction. LA Story was a hit at the box office, earning $6.6 million on its opening weekend and going on to a domestic total of $28 million. Critics were also positive about the comedy both at the time and in later years, with LA Story being named one of the top 20 best films about Los Angeles made in the last quarter of a century in 2008 by Los Angeles Times editors and writers. What I think. This witty and engaging early 90s romantic comedy, with a touch of surreal fantasy, used to be a regular watch in the 90s for me, but I hadn't seen it for nearly 18 years until late last year and only picked it up on DVD just recently. Having finally gotten around to seeing it again, I am very pleased to find that it still stands up extremely well. LA Story remains as charming and funny as ever, and is one of Martin's last truly great comedies. I am not going to give LA Story anything less than a straight A.